You got the Austin police chief constantly meeting with the ADL. Some bizarre libertarian blog attacks me and talks about how they go to the ADL meetings. No wonder when I showed up at that protest and they were running it, they freaked out and caused that whole thing and ran up and said, "You're not welcome here," when it was all my audience, people in my T-shirts showing up. And I was like, well, I'm going to bullhorn the media here. Now I find out they're writing articles about how great the ADL is and how they meet with them and how I'm bad. I mean, it's just, you can't believe this stuff. They're just everywhere. Obama making plans to use executive power. With much of his legislative agenda stalled in Congress, President Obama and his team are preparing an array of actions used to his executive power to advance energy, environmental, fiscal, and other domestic policy priorities. That's the New York Times. And it says we will use executive orders and signing statements. He's already doing it. We are reviewing a list of presidential executive orders and directives to get the job done across a front of issues, said Rahm Emanuel, who isn't even American, to the White House Chief of Staff. I mean, he is an admitted member of the IDF. Not even an Israel firster. He's an Israeli. And that's wrong. It's like Schwarzenegger's wrong for governor. Any president has vast authority to influence policy without legislation through executive orders, agency rulemaking, and administration fiat. That's why they have Cass Sunstein in there as the head of this, the guy that says there should be no free speech and no internet free speech, and now you hear it being announced by the media. And they tell you, oh, the president's allowed to do this. No, he's not. You just heard the president say it's wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal. And here's the key articles by Kurt Nimmo. Obama declares he will rule by authoritarian decree. Infowars.com. This is important. Get it out to everybody. Kurt Nimmo. The Obama administration has announced it will now rule by fascist decree and ignore Congress and the American people. And it goes on to say the fact that Obama's plan to rule by authoritarian decree is unconstitutional. Article 1, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution states, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in Congress of the United States, which shall consist of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Article 2, Section 3 states that the president may call Congress into emergency session during a national crisis. In other words, rule by fiat is treason. Another section of the Constitution covers treason. Article 2, Section 4 states the president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office of impeachment for and convicted of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Rahm Emanuel should be arrested and prosecuted for treason under federal statutes, specifically Title 18 U.S.C. 2. It states whoever commits an offense against the United States or aids, abets, counsels, commands, induces, or procures its commission is punishable as a principle. Treason is spelled out in Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution. Quote, the Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, it states. Right there. Another great article. Obama breaks yet another campaign promise. Paul Joseph Watson. In the face of rapidly growing populist anger, the Obama administration has signaled that it will fall back on a form of power well known to all successful dictators, rule by decree, and that Obama will use the very instrument he campaigned against to ram through the New World Order agenda, executive orders, and lots of them. This is the definition of tyrannus. And this isn't like executive orders. Congress would give the president his pay and his funding for the executive office of the president in the White House. And it was the first executive orders were like Martha Washington, what type of plates and silverware she was going to buy. And complaining she couldn't get more than a couple $100 to entertain dignitaries. Now it's, oh, I signed an executive order. There's all these taxes and we're going to shut down the power plants. Oh, I signed an executive order. We're federalizing your police. I'm signing an executive order. We're going to spy on you without warrants. I'm signing an executive order. We're going to issue a hemispheric travel ID card that's good in Mexico and Canada, and both countries are part of it. We'll cover this more tomorrow. In other news, we already talked a lot about this, but we'll take calls on it tomorrow because it's such an example of sabotage. Glenn Beck with the Perry campaign. Within 35 minutes, they already had robocalls going out that she's a 9/11 truther. When I never asked her about that on air. She never talked about 9/11 truth. She talked about getting rid of property taxes, securing the border, having open carry. And all these little neocon listeners go, well, I don't like her now if she's like that. But she got a lot of other supporters who didn't support her beforehand. You know, I'm going to go with Perry, the North American Union Bilderberg Group member. But notice where this came from, Glenn Beck. The attacks on Paul, Glenn Beck. He still calls him a kook, then has him on TV and acts like he's his friend. They're there to make sure there's not a real revolution at the state level. Just like all the Republicans that are going to get in office in the election coming up in Congress later this year, they'll be led by a Newt Gingrich type. By the way, he supports the global carbon taxes, another globalist. They'll be led by another Newt Gingrich type right down a rat hole because it's the system's job, and they do it worldwide. They're experts at it, to play groups off against each other and sabotage any real change towards freedom, transparency, and smaller government. And you're going to get more banker bailouts. And at key points, Glenn Obama Beck is going to support them. And then he'll get up later and say communists got it passed. I'm telling you, that's why I spend time on him now, because he is outrageously transparent and outrageously dangerous and outrageously slippery to the uninitiated who don't understand how these things work. We're going to come back, get into the Newsweek hit pieces. I'll cover this more tomorrow. I meant to get to it earlier. I just spent an hour and a half breaking down Beck and the fact that I'm sure of it. They're going to try to stage an assassination attempt on Obama, run out of the White House. It'll be fake. And I see the neocons pre-positioning all this. Obama completely works for them. They're just trying to give you a false choice between the Republicans and Obama, so you think that's the whole ball game.